Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, hope you're all doing alright out there. So yeah, I have been doing this YouTube gig now for 14 years, and a lot has changed in that time. I mean, one of the things that's changed that's quite funny is that you remember that car park that I used to ride in, mess around on my 125? Yeah, that's now the sea, because it's completely fallen into the sea where where the defences were taken away. Like, the landscape has changed in that time. So as I say, my first video was just over 14 years ago now, and I haven't really stopped uploading since then. It's been a continuous thing, and I think I've produced over 2,400 videos at this point. The next big thing a lot of people will remember is the big crash I had. If you remember that was 12 years ago basically, and I passed my full test and bought my DRZ 10 years ago. I think I've had the XJ6 for like 6 or 7 years. 6? 7? So I'm not even sure at this point. It's insane how much time has gone by and how much things have changed since the early days, both, God, in so many ways. One moment, before we get into that, get all nostalgic, I just need to drop something off to the local information centre. Basically, I found this radio on the beach this morning, and I thought it was one of the kite surface radios, but actually, as it turns out, it's a radio that communicates with dog collars. It's like a 190 quid radio, and it's waterproof, so in theory, it should still be fine. So if I give it to them, they can hopefully find the owner. There you go, that's what it is, a sport dog. I didn't even know these were a thing. Basically, it goes to a set of collars, and you can talk to your dog through its collar radio thing. So you don't have to shout, I assume, but doesn't that confuse the dog as where it needs to go? Come here! You are! I am here! Where are you? Good deed for the day done. She was very grateful and said they're going to put it on the Facebook page, so if anyone's lost it, they can see it and come and collect it. So I was amazed to find out the thing was 190 quid, but it's submergible to like 25 metres, so I think it will be fine. Anyway, let's get going. So yeah, just thinking back to the beginning, you know, when I very first started doing YouTube, like what the platform was like. Remember, it was broadcast yourself, whereas now it's more like go for yourself. A couple of the main things that stand out to me is the number difference. Like, in the early days, if you got your channel to 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers, you were doing really well, especially in the motovlogging area, because of course when I started it, I was using an iPhone 4 strapped to my chest with a hands-free kit, because I don't think that even the first GoPro had come out at that point, or if it had, it was very expensive. And it was the very original drift. No, was it the drift? It was a brick. I've done videos talking about the old cameras, but you know, we're talking 720p, 30 FPS, and that was like mind-blowing quality. You look back at it now and you're like, ow, my eyes. What was this filmed on? A sodding potato? But that's the thing, it's like looking back at old computer games. You remember them being much better than they really were. Quality-wise, you know, looks, graphics. Now I've got a channel with, you know, over 100,000 subscribers. It would still be considered these days one of the smaller channels, because there's so many channels with over 100,000 subscribers. There's many channels that you'd never think would have a particularly large amount of subscribers, and they do. Like really low production quality music reaction channels with over 1 million subscribers. But then part of it is, I find, it's the people who just sit there nodding their head to some music rather than actually like reacting to it and doing fair use stuff. But then that confuses me anyway, because like if you want that, then watch the actual song with the video and everything. But anyway, of course, in the very early days when I started out, you couldn't earn money through YouTube. There was no partnership program, and as that started to come along, and you know, people started to put more time and money into doing YouTube, and then companies started paying attention, then people started taking opportunities to get deals and take advertising deals and stuff like that. And if you did anything in any way, shape or form that could help you monetarily, people would throw you under the bus, because you were a sellout. You were a stinking sellout. Oh, advertising a product I'm actually interested in, being completely honest about it, and they're going to pay you some money that helps you produce the videos that I like watching. Sellout! Now people get it more. And of course, with the way that YouTube changed, the adpocalypse, the money we could earn really dropped through the floor. With the amount of people there is on YouTube nowadays, it's just earnings are Not great. That's why I started Patreon, and huge thanks to my patrons. It's very difficult to keep people on there, and I really appreciate anyone who does join. Now, that's a lot of glass. You'll see some really big creators do some really shady stuff, advertising stuff, and there's no real sort of question to it. Like, the whole established titles thing. Do you remember that whole scam to do with lordships and buying bits of land in Scotland? The amount of channels that pushed that made money from it, and it was always obvious it was a complete scam. But of course, politically, the world has changed just hugely, just massively, and socially people have changed a lot. I honestly think if you wanted to round down what's caused most of our problems in recent years, at least with people day to day, it is social media use and main character syndrome. Like, I'm a YouTuber, I'm supposed to have main character syndrome. I hope I don't. I think I'm just, as I've always said, it's literally my slogan, I'm just another dick on a bike who makes videos. And if you notice over the years, I've mainly made informative videos to try and help people get onto motorcycles. So I've always been trying to give back to the community, back to motorcycling, by bringing more people into it, because it did so much for me. Some of the other things from the early days of YouTube that I really do miss, and unfortunately, as I say, part of the problem is because you're not getting the same people watching videos every time. When the subscription system worked and people actually watched, the people they subscribed to, and were shown the people they were subscribed to, you used to get proper communities forming. You used to get, there was groups of people in my comments who used to sit and watch the video together while chatting in the comments, drinking tea. It was their thing, and I loved it. I thought it was such a great thing to see. But that really fell away. As a channel gets bigger, that of course changes. If you've got a smaller channel, that's something you'll still hold on to a point. But as things grow, you find more and more of the comments you get are actually just from people who've never seen your videos before, don't know anything about you, don't know your mentality or the way you approach things, and they make assumptions and hurl abuse at you most of the time. Most of the time I'm getting abuse hurled at me, and most of the time I could just go, well, actually no, it's this or this, or you've just misunderstood this point or something like that. But that's just another part of the way things are now. Now, to give a positive, one of the things I do like this change with YouTube is that some niche things, although it may be not as discoverable, some niche area channels can really survive because there's so many more people on the platform. If 1 in 1,000 people are interested in a video, back in the day you'd get virtually no views. Now, if that's the case, you're going to still get a decent amount of views because there's so many people out there who are on YouTube. So you get that group still of people who are interested in this niche thing. The only problem is if you don't stick to that niche 100%, the video will never, ever reach those groups of people. I do mostly motorcycle stuff, but I've done all sorts of things, from wildlife to history, mechanics, electronics, all photography, 3D, random stuff. I've done loads of stuff like that, and none of it will do that well because it's from a channel that's not known for it. And that's something that's a real shame. It means that and YouTube even tell you this. If your videos aren't doing as well as they used to, maybe try and do stuff people will like more. And it's well, I thought it was about being yourself, regardless of view count. Of course, I need people to be interested in what I'm doing. I need to get the videos out there, but I'm not going to, as I've said before, I'm not going to make the mistakes that some have done to gain success, because then you end up being successful at something that you didn't want to do. Divi's only 80 degrees, it's cold. Another one of the things that really blows my mind is how many people back in the day used to ask about cameras and microphones and say about how they were starting motovlogging, and it really died off after the point that they demonetized channels were less than 4,000 subscribers and 10,000 hours watched and stuff like that. It was that $5 was making all the difference to whether people wanted to do it or not, even though the camera was going to cost them 200 or something. That whole thing never really made much sense to me, but I guess it pulled hope out for most of those people. And back then, people thought that doing YouTube as a job was just insanity. You can't do that. How could that work? How do you earn money off of that? But now apparently, the number one thing that kids want to be is a content creator, not a fireman or a vet or a doctor or a policeman or all those classic things that every kid would say when they were younger, unless they had a family member as an engineer or a cook or take over the family. So there's so many more people on the platform, there's so many more people wanting to get into it, yet I just don't see anyone wanting to be interested in motovlogging. And I think we know why that is. It's, well, partly because it's moved to TikTok more, the younger people, and motovlogging, in the sense that it used to be, talking about your day-to-day stuff, is not flavour of the half century. It's been pretty downward going for many years, and that's why you've seen most of the channels transition to something that's still a bit more catchy. And I've done that. I went to doing mechanical videos, but the funny thing is, like, my second or third video is a mechanical video working on my bike. So I actually, in reality, I've got as many videos at the beginning just talking while being on a bike as I did working on bikes. So I didn't go to mechanical stuff, I sort of went back to it. And I've done all the series and all the playlists and stuff, but I've done so much of these bikes now that I don't really have anything left to do. I'm not in a path to be replacing them, so it makes it tricky to do that. But where stuff needs doing, I'll make videos. I'm finding as I'm getting older though, I want to talk about subjects more. I want to get in depth on stuff and sort of, I don't know, that gets very difficult though, because everything right now is a hot topic, no matter what it is. Talking of hot topics, hot pink scooter. Another thing that changed a lot in that time, but not in the, the sense of you've changed, man, you know who you used to be, is me. What's changed a lot is I'm more confident in some things. In the past 14 years, I have taught myself I don't know how much stuff, because YouTube and just practically going for it and trying things out is 99% of the work to learn how to do most skills. A lot of it's based in many years ago. I decided that I was going to basically forget pretty much everything I'd ever been taught, because so often what I found I'd been taught wasn't right, and I decided, right, well, the only time you can actually talk on something with confidence is when you've actually learnt about it, when you've actually had experience with it, when you're not just assuming, you're not going off of very little information, stuff like that. It's like the whole EVs argument. I don't want to get into it here, but I can say this, and I think most people can understand this. You have to be a proper nerd to fully understand all the ins and outs of what goes into electric vehicles, why they're good, bad, the production stuff, all of the physics about different fuels. You really have to nerd out to understand all that stuff to a point you can actually make 30 long-minute videos of talking about it. And the thing is, most people don't want to do that, but whereas in the past I think people were more willing to say, I don't know, I'm not sure about that, they just look at a Facebook post and then know everything about it. And people will come up with these crazy ideas about things, and you're like, look, the second law of thermodynamics tells you that can't be true. And they're like, well, you don't know that. And it's like, yes, we do. But again, that goes back to the whole main character syndrome thing and social media. I really feel like for some people, they don't feel validated in life unless, and I know this sounds stupid coming from someone who literally is asking you to like the video, subscribe, but it's a business, it's what I do. I make videos to help people, I hope, and in return I get to do this as a job rather than what I used to do, which was being depressed as a chef. Now, of course, that's another whole thing, the whole mental health stuff again. Now, that is not to say I don't have depression anymore. I didn't have depression because I was sad. That's just the thing you always have. It's just when you're in a very poor job and you have that, and it's not fulfilling you in any way, it's not going to help you. This really allows me to be creative. It allows me to be free, to be more expansive about the things I can do, and I don't have to do the same thing again and again and again. I don't even mind that, like doing the boat work that I did sporadically to get some extra money in. I really enjoy doing that, but it's just I have a creative urge in me, and if I don't fulfill it, I'm just not as happy in life. And I didn't know any of that when I started YouTube about myself. It's because of this, because of a lot of the things you do and how much you have to think about stuff and the experiences you have and the hardships that you go up against at times, that you learn things about yourself. It's just mad to think, if say a kid was born when my channel started at this point in time, that would be a 14-year-old who will be thinking about, what they're going to be doing in the future and actually gearing up to, leave school after it's like a year or two after that, and get into college and move into life. But the very sad thing is that 14-year-old's grown up never knowing a world without the internet, and I really think that is a bad thing. In the future, I really don't know what's going to be what. I mean, let's face it, as I made videos a few years ago explaining AI is going to change the world dramatically, and at that time, that was when those very first AI art things came out, really early on. And as I said at the time, if you look where this is going to go, it's going to be problematic for a lot of people. And there was a lot of people who said, no, you know, you're full of crap, you know what you're talking about. Well, at this point in time, an awful lot of the content you see is AI generated. Graphic illustration and graphics design has, the arse has fallen out of that business. Stock photography is now pretty much dead, because in the past you might have to go to someone who's taken a picture of a bowl of soup with some crusty bread. Now you just type, give me a picture of a bowl of soup with some crusty bread, copyright free, probably trained off of that guy's photos and a lot of other people, so you know who can claim it's their image. And now people use that. Stock music, that's all going to be made by AI now. You know, background stuff. Someone who would have sat there before and made things. It's more efficient for them to use AI at this point, which of course removes the creative side of it. But that's the thing. When it comes to photography, you could have a picture which is art, which, you know, really does need a human behind it with an idea, because, of course, with all these things like with modern art, it's the idea behind it, not the actual art necessarily. But at least with a photograph, it's got to look nice. When it comes to, say, the stock photography, there's no emotion to it. It's just, I need a picture of a bowl of soup. I don't care. Just minestrone, cream of chicken, I don't care. Just soup. And because of AI, I really have no idea what the future holds for YouTubers, for me, for a lot of things. And of course, with so many other things going on in the world right now, this is kind of trivial. So here we are. What a world. But I am, as I say, very glad that I am on this timeline. And I'm glad that, as I always said, I never wanted a massive millions of subscriber channel, because it would ruin what it is. Could be just a little bit bigger, just make things a little bit more comfortable, but I don't want it to be massive. Oh God, it's freezing. Yes, I need to go to the other Tesco's, because big Tesco's didn't have everything I needed. Huge thanks for watching the video. Huge thanks to my supporters and people who've been there all these years. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe. Buy my soul is for sale, because I'm a sellout. Catch you in the next one. And sing.